Welcome to week 8. I can't believe that we are already here, but we are now into week 8 of Flourish, and you've covered a lot of ground over the previous 7 weeks. And this week, we're going to be looking at the subject of light of the world. And that might sound familiar to you because it's been our theme for Missions Fest the past 2 years. But this week, we really want you as a group to intentionally dive in and have some great discussion on how we as disciples can be a light in a dark world.
Yeah. So we know that Jesus is the light of the world. The church gets to reflect that light, and we as disciples are to go out and tell the world who that light is. And it's important because we have all, as believers, experienced leaving that darkness and stepping into the light, and what a beautiful thing that is. And so we want to be able to share the gospel, bring glory to Jesus as we share that with others. So in this week's reading, we touch on the subject of God's heart for the world and how we as disciples, we share that heart. And we are sent to be a blessing to others, to all nations of the world. And so before you get together with your groups, we want you to think about a couple things as leaders. So first of all, do you yourself see that the heart that God has for the world is also the heart that we're supposed to have as disciples? Because sometimes we can shy away from that truth, or it makes us nervous to think about sharing. But the moment that we surrendered our life to Christ, we became proclaimers of that church, of that truth, and of that gift that we were given. So what matters is that disciples are to proclaim the gospel. And I want you to wrestle with, how are you doing that in reality? What does that look like? And the second thing is, how has the salvation that God has given you been a blessing to your life? It's easy to say, but think deeper about the reality of God's blessing in your life. It's not just a subject, but it's something we experience and get to share with each other. So specifically for you as both a disciple and the leader of your group, take some time to think about the ways you have experienced that blessing and what it looks like to put it in play as you bless others. Think about how that's going for you so that you're equipped to lead that conversation with your group.
Yeah, so then the last question for you as a leader to think through is, how are you living as a small light of Christ in the circles that you are in and the circles that you influence? So how are you living that way? Remember that it's not just a light that you can turn on with trying to be a better person. This is something that you have to rely on the Holy Spirit for, to strengthen you in every season and every place that you go. So think about, how are you depending on the Spirit in your neighborhoods, in your home, in your workplace, in your schools, wherever it may be. And as you process that, it's going to enable you to then process that with your group. So we want you to consider those questions as leaders before you jump into a discussion with your group on this whole subject of the light of the world. Now, as you look at the questions and you jump into your discussion time, there are several questions we want you to kind of hone in on and look at. And so we recommend by just starting your whole discussion time with, what hit you this week out of this subject matter? What was something that was challenging to you? And then as you do that, you're going to use, in day 1, you're going to use questions 1 and 3. We think those will help you kind of launch into it. And then really the questions that you have in days 2 and 3 are perfect. Try to hit them all if you can. If not, it's okay, but we think that you're going to be able to have a really rich discussion in that time. Then we want to encourage you to close in prayer and spend some time talking and praying about how you as a group can be a light in a dark world. We also have some resources in there in the book on how you can connect with other missionaries. You can talk to our global team here. And maybe there's some missionaries that you can support in prayer, financially, or invite into your group at some point over the next year. Looking at that. And as always, please reach out to Melissa and I. We would love to help you with any questions you have, and we're here to serve you. But have a great time in week 8. See ya.